This knight on b1 is going to sacrifice itself for a brilliant move, not once, but twice in the same game. And what's even more incredible is it happens on the exact same square on the chessboard. If I didn't play this game myself, I don't know that I would have believed that this could have happened. I've never seen anything like this. Let me know in the comments if you guys have ever seen this before. This is incredible. I think you're going to appreciate what this knight does during this game. Let's take a look at what happened. This was a 10-minute rapid game that I played recently. And against the Caro-Kann, if you've been watching the channel for any amount of time, you know that I like to play the Von Hennig Gambit. So if you want to beat me in chess, just study this, play the Caro-Kann against me, and you'll win every time because this is what I play. Knight to f6. I played f3, gambiting the pawn so that I can open up the f-file and attack, but my opponent decided to not accept the gambit. They just play e3, which you can do. There's nothing wrong with it. And I don't get to use the open f-file. But I took the pawn back, and now we're kind of just playing chess at this point. Plays bishop f5, bring my knight out. e6, and right here, I remembered an idea that I have seen before. And the idea is hunting down this bishop in a very interesting way. So I played the move g4. Now, if you look carefully, you can't go there or there or there. You don't want to take. So the bishop has to go back to g6. And then I played h4. And my plan is to trap the bishop with my pawns. It's going to be stuck, and I'm going to simply just win a piece. Now, of course, I knew that my opponent wasn't going to just let me do that. This is really obvious what I'm trying to do. But my plan was that after they prevented me, I had the follow-up move knight to f4. Now, why is knight to f4 such a good move? Well, this bishop is about to get captured. So if black does some random move, I'm just going to take it. And when they take me back, first of all, they're losing a pawn here. But even probably more importantly, I could play queen d3 and attack over here. This is a weak square, and I'm going to get to the king one way or another. Okay, they could try to defend with king f7, but there's probably a bunch of really good moves. Let's see, Stockfish says just taking the pawn and then swinging the rook over, and you could see black's position just kind of falling apart. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. Back to the game here when I played knight to f4. So they didn't want to let me take the bishop, so they played bishop to h7. I played the move g5. I'm trying to kick the knight away so that I can grab this free pawn on h5. However, after they played knight to d5, I realized something. I can actually just trade this guy off and play the move g6. Now, why would I play g6 when I only have one defender and they have two attackers? Well, the point is, first of all, if you take with the bishop, I'm going to be happy to make this trade again, and we get the similar situation where black has these crazy weaknesses. I'm going to play queen d3, and I've got lots of threats. This is not going to end well for them. I mean, look at this open file. I could even just castle. I'm going to get to attack the king at very little risk to me, okay? If they take with the pawn, well, we could also grab here, and the bishop is kind of totally trapped. And if you decide to go back here, I think I was probably going to trade this and continue to keep attacking, or maybe just leave that pawn there for now because the bishop is basically stuck. So just queen somewhere, castling, something along those lines. So in the game, my opponent captured with the pawn. And I just grabbed this free pawn on e6. Thank you very much, right? The bishop is stuck. I get my knight to invade. They play the move queen to d6, and this brings us to the first brilliant move with this knight. If you want to pause, what's the brilliant move? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move is knight takes d5. Now, what's interesting is knight to b5 was also a very, very good move. Not the one that I played. I played knight takes d5. But what is going on here? Because both knights are undefended, what am I doing? Well, the answer is they are both actually defended by a fork. Look at that. If you take this guy, you get forked. And if you take the other guy, you also get forked. So really, really nice move. And I realized that I don't have the... just one second. I wanted you to see the brilliant move. So what I'm going to do is click this button. It's going to mess up the screen for a second. But then it will show me the moves. All right, so let's go back to the position. Here we are. There you go. I wanted to make sure that you saw that. Okay, so it's brilliant move. This is brilliant move number one. As I just explained, both knights cannot be captured because of the tactic of the fork. And actually, I'm also just threatening to go there next move and fork these pieces anyway. So this is a really annoying situation for black to be in. But they decide to fight on. They play knight a6, which defends that square, and now both of my knights are being attacked because now I don't have this move anymore, because the knight would just take me, right? So I'm like, okay, well, let's just move this knight and defend. So this is defended, and I don't have to worry about that, okay? Game goes on, bishop to e7. Now, at this point, I realized my opponent's king is stuck in the center. You can't castle either way because you would go into check, right? My knight is controlling both of these squares. This is check. So I said, I don't need to panic. I'm just going to play c3, support my center, block any shenanigans on this square, and let out my queen. I have no reason to panic. Like, these knights are amazing, right? So that's what I did. He goes bishop f6, and I play queen b3. I'm attacking here. I'm defending my knight. And maybe even more importantly, I'm getting ready to castle so that I can start using my rooks to attack. Okay, great. Rook to b8. I mean, it's an ugly move, but it's not easy to defend that pawn, so I understand. I castled queenside. I don't want to get the rooks involved, like I said. And now my opponent plays king to d7. And I realized what they were trying to do was activate their rooks, right? This is one of the major disadvantages of not castling, is that your rook is stuck over there and it can't really come into the game. Usually you castle and it's easy to move it in, but you can't because of knight, right? So king d7 is their way of saying, look, I'm going to get this rook into the game one way or another, even though my king has to kind of move to an awkward square. So I was like, okay, I think this is probably the moment to attack, right? Whenever your opponent makes a move like this, you're castled, your king is safe, their king is not. You need to do something aggressive. So I played knight c5 check. And of course, my point is that if you take me, I'm going to recapture and your queen is pinned. Okay, so there's a nice little tactic there. So they don't want to take me, they just move their king. I said, okay, let's go back to e4, forking the pieces. The queen moves over to b6. And of course, black would love to trade queens. Even though I'm probably going to win the endgame still, because I have some extra pawns in a nice position, I don't want to trade queens when my opponent's king is, you know, like just right out in the open. So I said, okay, let's go queen f7. Now, queen f7 is one of those moves that, you know, it doesn't really threaten anything immediately. Like, if you look carefully, like, this is defended, this is defended, this is defended. You could argue that I am threatening to take this with my knight, which maybe I would. But everything's kind of defended, but it's a good square that keeps black's king trapped. It keeps a lot of options open for me depending on what they're going to do next, and it avoids the queen trade. Okay, so that's why I played there. So they decide to go with the move bishop to g8, and this is where I noticed something really nice. So this is kind of I would say this is a pretty advanced level tactic. So if you want to pause and have a shot at it, you can. If not, don't worry about it. But what do you think I played here? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move is queen to e8 check. And the idea is that if the king tries to run, I have a really, really nice follow-up. And if, let's just say they go back here, I'm going to jump in with my knight because this is pinned. And, well, let's just go with the game. They played king c7, which allowed the follow-up. If you want to pause again, here is the second brilliant move, and that's actually a really big clue now that I think about it. Anyway, second brilliant move with the same knight. So if you remember, the knight that was here went to here. It sacrificed on d5. Brilliant move. Came over to f4. We played 10 more moves in the game. And here we are. Wait for it. Knight to d5 goes back to d5. It's another brilliant move somehow. Because, of course, the bishop can just take it. Now it's a fork, so you kind of have to take it, but if you don't take it... so what am I doing? Like, why am I giving up my knight for free? Because bishop f4 check, and look at the king, and now it's important. Remember earlier, when I moved my queen, I didn't go to f8. I went to e8. Sorry, e8. This is important because when we get to this moment, when I play bishop f4, look at these pieces. They're diagonal crisscrossing. I don't know what this is called. There's some sort of name for this, I think, if I can draw the arrows. And it's basically checkmate. Look at that. It's basically checkmate with the queen and the bishop, except that black can block, which they have to. If they block with the bishop, it doesn't do anything. I just take it. So they block with the queen. And now you can see why knight to d5 was such a brilliant move. That was the second brilliant move with the knight on the same exact square, leading to this position. And I was low on time. Both were kind of low on time, so my opponent played on. But I brought the queen out, check with the bishop, grabbed a free pawn, check again, brought the rook to the game, just saved it, captured here, and won in a few more moves. Bishop to b6, lines up here. There's not really much black can do. I push the pawn, Whenever you have rooks behind passed pawns, they're super dangerous. Just push them forward. You're gonna win the game if you do that pretty much every time. Traded, push it, push it. Notice I'm taking away the escape square from the king and the checkmate on a8. Really nice game. I was very proud of that. I was surprised to see two brilliant moves. And then when I was looking through, I was like, wait a second. That's two knight moves. And then I looked a little bit further and I'm, wait a minute, that's the same knight. The same exact knight going to the same exact square. Like, I've never seen anything like that before. Ever. So, yeah, I wanted to share it with you guys. And hopefully you learned a thing or two along the way as well. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp. Play smart. Take care.